Alright, returning to this now that I understand more about what the enclosures to be, what the screening and so forth, this amazing easy screen product which I've reviewed. I think I covered some of this ground in the last film in DRM5 with regard to whether or not this is going to increase costs or whether it makes sense for you, period. Now that I've put it together, you can at least assess whether you want that kind of a screened enclosure. I do want to say again that I'm not sure that this is going to get you where you want to be with this in terms of costs. Now, if you want the enclosure, then perhaps it can be considered differently. Nevertheless, if we put these amazing easy screens in, you can't call it habitable space, but apparently they keep the water out enough, apparently, and I can't say for sure one way or the other, but they keep the water out enough that you can have regular floor covering up here, and so we can get rid of this sloped roof covering over it, which seems to be the issue. One of the things that continues, though, to be, still will cause some concerns. We have the roofed area here, and we have this roofed area here, so we're still going to have some sort of vinyl covering or something to treat that. I've not generally modified this framing right now, but I will if it comes to that's what you want to do. My guess is that these will remain 2x12s in order to carry reasonably priced insulation in this diaphragm here, and that they'll come up here, and then they'll project out here with a slope just in this area here, and there will be a slight slope anything outside of the railing, outside of wherever these easy screen system goes in. There'll be the front edge of this that is still going to have to be waterproof to keep water from going in. So there will be, and then there's going to have to be some sort of curb or some sort of interface to bring those windows down and keep the water on this side of it and the inside flat. That much said, I did review these easy screens and I looked at their literature, etc. I mean, this looks like finished interior space. I don't know what this could be on a slab, though. I'm not sure what's underneath these, but they all look very nice. There's the curb I'm talking about here. This is what the product, it has. These wider units have this divider bar in the middle. The skinnier units don't necessarily have that, but they're essentially 4 sashes with like that thin 10 mil acrylic or whatever it is in the panes, and then each of these sashes moves up, and apparently, according to my conversations with them, you can align all of these panels at once and move them all up here or all here, locate them wherever you want within the height of the opening. So the next thing I did was to model those units so that we'd have a fairly decent, accurate representation of how it's going to impact the structure. And here they are here, and I wanted to show them in a couple different ways. This is with all of the windows all pulled up. The screen remains on the outside of the unit regardless. So the screen is here. This is with all the windows pulled up. This is with them all dropped to the bottom. Here they are kind of midpoint. And then when you go to the wider units, which we're going to use some of, the sash has this one vertical bar in the middle of it. And so this is it with them all dropped down, all pulled up. The doors are similarly constructed with wider rails and stiles, but the same for droppable, raisable sashes within them. Once I did that, this was the plan that we ended up with a swing door down here, swing door out to that little porch up there if that stays, and then 2 little swing doors with this porch projection remaining across the whole length of the thing here. A door, and then all of these others are window units going around here. Little skinnier window units flanking this door here. And so the first look of that modeled up then is something like this. This is with the screens all open, all dropped to the bottom. The sashes all open and all dropped to the bottom. Hadn't done anything with this gable end up here yet, But going forward, you know, whether or not we have that little porch or whether that's just a flat roof, and these are just more of these units here. We need that projection for the garage though, regardless. But I experiment with various railings on that. At the time, I thought that these sashes all had to be either up or all down at the bottom. This was before I discovered you could arrange them anywhere in this vertical piece. And so some of these railings, I was trying to get some sort of alignment. That's immaterial now at this point. So I put these transom units up here, these trapezoid units here. These are not, you can buy the pane with the plastic in it, and or the screen unit. If you do it that way though, you've got to change out the screens. I don't know if you're going to get a lot of water blowing in through here if you just put panels up there and forget about it, or if this is just, if you just bring this siding all the way across there and ignore that open area up there. In any case, this was kind of what that first permutation looked like. Obviously we had to get rid of those diagonal braces. There was no way those were going to work in here. We'll just use different connectors up there. But so it becomes a more takes away some of that, I don't know, for lack of a better word, rustic look. And I considered leaving those on the outside, but it looked even worse. So those were gone for good, and then it was just a case of just experimenting, as I said, with these railings and with the sashes all up and the sashes down, just getting a feel for how it was going to impact it. I'm hoping that this doesn't just become like, you know, your aunt's screen porch as a kid where it's all dusty and dank, or that it would be a nice usable space for you. These railings, these units are not strong enough that you can trust that a person's not going to plunge through. So you're going to have some sort of railing on the inside. The code requires a railing, at least one rail at 34 inches inside. So that will have to happen, and I show that somewhere here. See, I show just a pipe rail at 34, some sort of a bar going across. Whether you wanted more of that situation, we would have to discuss and determine. And I'm not saying that these are the railings I like. I'm just showing a variety of different things, trying to get a feel for it here. These are this pipe rail. Those. I think that's just a bit much. This was what we were using, and it still looks fine. I like the height it adds to it there. That's with the screens all open, and with the screens all closed. And this is, if you went to those cable rails, you don't even see them really. I didn't put them on the stairs, but there is a cable rail here that you can barely see. One adjustment I did make was, because it would happen in the environment you're talking about, would no longer have this sort of little peak here. That would go to more even all the way across like that. And that actually, I would probably do that with or without the screens. It's just something that has come up that I made the modification. So hopefully we can get together and talk about this some more, maybe with a phone conversation. But hopefully I haven't missed the mark too badly on some of this. Thanks.